crafty friends, it's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. This week's video is coming to you a little bit late. My apologies. I want to make this cute little tea bag tower. I have made this in the past. It was on a Facebook Live a couple of years ago. I cased Connie Stewart, and at work I have a couple of items that I made that I look at every now and then, and one of them was the original tea tower that I made. So I got to thinking I want to make another one. So I made another one just to make sure that I had all the measurements right. So let's get our craft on and I will show you how to do this. So we are going to be using the new cup of tea bundle. I've got some summer fruit tea because it matched so well with this amazing DSP. Not gonna lie, my nails are also done that color on purpose. So we are going to use this DSP. I'm not going to add this second little mat this time. I wanted something to kind of bring all of these teacups in together so you can see that that's what I've done. We are going to be using a different bundle than I did on this one. I just thought this was kind of cute. Don't usually love green and purple together, but I mean the DSP just brought it together. So we are going to use some new in colors for this. We're not, let's see, should we use Sweet Sorbet? Let me bring in the in colors and we can decide. So if you haven't happened to have seen the new in colors, the 22-24 in colors, this is Parakeet Party. This is Tahitian Tide. Sweet Sorbet. This is kind of what I'm leaning towards. Look, not too bad on the color matching there, huh? So we might do that one. This one is Orchid Oasis, and it looks actually quite a bit more blue in my screen than it actually is in person. I mean, it is blue, but it's like a purpley blue. It does not look the same in my camera as it does as I'm looking at it here. And then this is Starry Sky, and I think this one's my favorite. So I'm not sure which one to pick. I think this is going to be a lot of red, but, and if you caught my Facebook Live last week, this was the card that I shared using these same supplies. It is one of the bundles that's on the demonstrator pre-order. And to be honest, I love tea. I've been drinking more coffee lately than tea, but this was like my first pick. Love it. Love this little tea bag. So cute. So I'm really not sure. You know what? I think I'm going to go with the Starry Sky. I love it. Now, the other thing I could do is do the lid in one color and the container in another. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe we'll just use this as our accent color. Okay, so to make this, we need one full 8.5 by 11. So we'll use our Starry Sky for that. And then we need 5.5 by 6 for our lid and 1 by 6.5, and that's going to reinforce this piece. So let me grab another piece of my Starry Sky. I think we'll use this as an accent somewhere, maybe. So let's cut this one down to the 5.5 by 6, and then we'll have our 1 inch as well. Okay, so there is our, let's go to the 5.5 mark, because then that's half a sheet. Okay, by 6. And then I need 1 by 6.5. It actually doesn't need to be 6.5. I found that when I was making this, 6.5 was far too long. So let's do our 1 inch. And we're going to score that piece in half. Now, because sheets only come 8.5 by 11, unless you get the 12 by 12, I don't. We need to make this little piece that's going to connect the two. So we are going to fold this, and then we are going to take a little snip out of each of these ends. So just take a little triangle out. Whoops. That would have been going the wrong way. We're trying to take the bulk out, not add more. Okay, and then for our lid, we are going to do 1.5 inches on all 4 sides. Although, when I first watched this video by Connie Stewart, she was talking about her simply scored shim. So that is basically just a piece of cardstock that you add that kind of moves your cardstock over. But I find that just by using 1/16 of an inch, that works. So the first time I did it, I went 1/16 over. We actually need it to be a 1/16 under. So we are going to go, now I'm really hoping I've got this the right way. Bring it to your 1.5 inch mark and then bring it back 1/16. So that is, if you're really good with 16ths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 16ths. 1 and 7 16ths. Or just go to that half mark, dial it back 1/16 of an inch. It's a lot easier than sitting there and counting out 7 16ths, right? That's what I think. Now, while we have this, I'm going to cut up to that first score line. Like I said, this is our lid. Now you want to go until you kind of feel that resistance, or you can see on the side here that you've gotten to the right mark. I like to kind of go conservatively and then lift it and see where I'm at. That's how I prefer to do it. I'm going to take our little slice of pizza out of there just so that this sits flat. Doesn't matter that that wasn't straight, because no one's going to see it. This is just so that that lid sits nicely. Okay, so we might as well put the lid together while we're doing this. So I like to use liquid glue. You could use tear and tape if you want, but first let's just fold and burnish all of these score lines. You can use your bone folder. I'm gonna be lazy and just use my thumbs. So keep the long tabs on the outside. We're gonna put glue on the outsides of these two. And then I line them up. Just hold them there for a few seconds just to give that glue a chance to set. If you prefer not to sit there and hold it, you could put some kind of clamps on there, like clothespins or some kind of clips. But I think we all have just a few seconds, right? Maybe just a few seconds, but I find that if I don't do this, it doesn't stay together. And one of my biggest fears when I'm giving someone something is that it doesn't stay together. I want them to know that they can count on my crafts and my craftsmanship, I guess, and know that it's going to stay together. Now, if you have any little bits that pop up like this, just trim them off, which I know is super hard because now our box is put together, right? Okay. So we'll leave that. We will be putting some DSP on here, I think. Yeah, I think so. So I'm not going to worry about this little glue spot that's there. Okay, so now on to the dimensions for the box. So with our 8.5 by 11 inch sheet, we're going to score this at 2.5 inches on the long side. Oh, I see. I just wrote it the wrong way. I'm not going to score it at 8.5 if it only goes to 8.5. Okay, so on the 11 inch side, we are going to score at 3 inches, 5.5 inches, and 8.5 inches. Okay, and then while we have that scoring, cutting, while we're still on that score line, let's just go up and cut our tabs. And then we're going to do our little mitering, notching as well. Now, I'm trying to think. On the two narrow edges, we're going to fold these. You see there's 2 that are narrow and 2 that are wide. So the DSP that we're going to be putting on here, these measure 2 1/4, these measure 2 3/4. So on the side where the 2 1/4 inch DSP is going, we are actually going to trim these tabs. And I prefer to do it like that, just fold these other ones in and then trim. And then going to notch. Now one of these is going to be cut off, and I think it's this one, but I'm going to notch it nonetheless. if you notice on my original, we need to have somewhere where those tea bags can come out. So I used this punch right here, and we will use that again. I really could have just cut that tab off, but okay, so these are the longer tabs. We don't need to do anything there. We are, I believe we're done with this. I just need it for DSP, and I don't need it closed or open for that. Okay, so that little piece that we cut, our 1-inch piece, is going to be what keeps our box together. So you want to make sure that this seam is at the back. So we are going to be punching our little hole there. So we might as well go ahead and do this now. I'm going to use liquid glue, but you could use tear and tape or Stampin' Seal Plus. We're going to line one of them up. So give this a close. Just keep that edge away from the top of the box. And now we can go ahead and glue the other side. So this little box would be great for any of the tea drinkers in your life. It would make a great coworker gift, little Mother's Day accessory. I probably wouldn't give it as the whole gift, but be a cute little add-on. Fix this. You know what? I'm just going to huff on this and pull one of those sides off because this hasn't fully set. So if you're using liquid glue and you realize, like me, you've made a mistake, you can huff on this. So a hot breath, and it will release some of the adhesive. You're going to have to do it a couple of times, but it will get that glue to release. Slowly but surely. You don't want to rip it. Okay, so now we can put a little bit of glue on this tab. We're going to close one of them. Doesn't really matter which one. We'll put some glue on the other tab. And see, this is why it makes it so hard for me to take pieces apart, is because I do use so much glue. You don't need to use that much. And I like to use my bone folder. Just give that a little burnish. For the DSP, we are cutting both of the pieces. I've got two 6x6. We're going to cut them down to 5 3/4. Okay, so we've cut that down to 5 3/4. Now we need two that are 2 3/4 and two that are 2 1/4. So I've got these both stacked together. Let's keep them lined up. So if you want your patterns to kind of meet, then do 2 3/4 and then 2 1/4. And you'll know that these pieces will line up. So say like so. Now I'm going to want to punch that little piece out. See, there was another reason I wanted to put this all together before I did that. And now with the other sheet, let's do the same thing. So we'll do our 2 3/4 and then 2 1/4. And what you could do is you could alternate sides so that you have red on one and then the pattern on the other. Now, unfortunately, we can't use these pattern pieces on our lid, but we could absolutely use this, and that would be a nice way to bring that red in. The strawberry sorbet. Okay, so what I would recommend is figuring out where this needs to be, because I did it the wrong way. There's no guarantee this is going to work either, but I would put a pencil line on either side there. See, I'll show you how not to do it. And then you can probably barely see the pencil line, but I am just lining that up and then punching that part. No guarantee it's gonna be perfect. And if you're concerned, then leave a little bit of extra room on the top so that you can cut it off. I'm gonna cut these, two little tabs off, because if you remember, I cut all the way across. So we don't need those little bits. Always lose this. It's right beside me. I don't know which I lose more, this or my scissors. I think I need to kind of paint all my Stampin' Seal like neon so I don't lose it. Put my scissors on a string. Let me know in the comments below, what craft item do you lose every single time you craft? And I am using Stamp & Seal because this is just DSP. If it were cardstock that I was assembling, I would use liquid glue or Stamp & Seal Plus, usually liquid glue. But I don't like the little glue worms that I get with using liquid glue, whoops, on DSP. Clearly, I need some more practice. Now, I don't have any of the in color ribbon yet, so I'm not sure I'm going to finish this with ribbon, but I guess we'll see. So now what I would recommend doing is putting your tea bags in, and these ones actually fit a lot better than the Tazo ones do. I don't know if it's Tazo or Tazo, but I had to fold my edges over, otherwise they don't want to sit in there. But I rewatched Connie's video, and what she recommended was you flip them. So put one the right way. Whoops, doesn't matter which way it faces. But make sure that you flip them the other way. Otherwise, you won't be able to fit them all in because, of course, the tea bag takes up more room in the bag than where the one end is. I'm sure that made no sense. But make sure that each one is rotated. So right way, wrong way. And it's probably a lot easier to just stack them than to keep putting one in at a time, but just flip. I can't tell you how good this smells. Herbal tea is not usually my go-to, but this one just matched so well with the colors. Look, we could even fit more in there now that they all just flipped. So we could fit more of these, but these are the, as you can see, Lipton ones. There we go. It's probably half full. I could probably fit another 3/4 of a box. Okay, so now we've got our lid, which is a perfect fit. I'm really not happy with this back seam, so I will be sure to put a note about how to prevent that. Now, the other thing I would like to recommend is that you find the side that looks better to you, the one on the front. You always want to be the nicer one, so if you have a little bit hanging off on one side versus another, then do that. And I think we are going to keep a nice big border on here because I don't want to cut more of this paper. I've already used so much of it. So we are going to keep the width at what it is. So that is 1 inch. And the lid is 2 5/8. So we're going to go with 2 1/2 for the two short ends. So I'm going to lay these together. I should probably follow what I had on the other ones, right? But 2 1/2. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I had. So 2 1/4 and then 2 3/4 because we want a bit of a matte on here. You want that starry sky to be visible. I know we've got a lot more matte on here, or a lot more background than we do on the box, but you know when you think you've figured everything out and then you go to press record and it's like you've never made it before. You'd never know. I just did a dry run of this yesterday to make sure that everything was working. Oh, best laid plans. But I'm also recording this after work on a long day. So unfortunately, it is what it is. It's either this video or no video. But I hope that you will take this and find some inspiration in some part of it. If you do create this, I would love to see your take on it. You can share it in my Facebook group, which is Stamped AF, or you can tag me on Instagram at Stamped AF. That would be awesome. Not perfect, but perfection is so very highly overrated. Now you're going to want to be careful when you put that lid on. You don't want to strip any of that DSP that we've already put on. This could be quite further over. Let's put this side on the front because I don't want to pull anything else apart. Okay, so you could just leave it at that, but we've got this gorgeous bundle, or cup of tea. So I was thinking we would put maybe this. It's time for tea. So I'm thinking just maybe a little tea bag on there, but I mean, we have to have a cup, right? So I'm thinking this cup. I want to do a stripy one, I think. And there are 2 of the little tea bags and 1 of the larger ones. So just be sure you're getting the right one. We need a scrap of basic white. And I am going to stamp my little teacup. Should we do sweet sorbet? I'm kind of thinking so. Although it's a high staining color, of course. Or do we do starry sky? Let's go with sweet sorbet. So in case you're wondering, in case you haven't seen, the closest current color is Poppy Parade, and you can see that Poppy Parade is a little more orange and sweet sorbet is a little more bluey. Not quite a pink, still very much a red. It is very pretty. So let's ink this baby up. I love this striped cup. I think I might have over inked. New pads always come very juicy. Not bad. I've got a weird little something down there. This is the first time I'm using this one, so I want to make sure I don't have any little like lint or anything. 3rd time's a charm. Any of these would work. I'm just being picky. There we go. Do you see what I mean? There's like a little weirdness there. So I've got my die. I do like to use a little bit of low tack tape before I die cut, just to make sure it's not going to move on me. And then we will also do our tea bag. It could be a different color, but I'm just gonna stick with white. Now we could stamp our sentiment on the tea bag, or we could do like a cute little circle in there. I think I'm going to just stamp it on the tea bag. I do want to keep the focus on the DSP of this lovely pattern. So let's grab our It's Time for Tea. This one, perfect size to fit on this little tea bag. We'll put some baker's twine on the back of this. I could have kept one of those little scraps of tape. Okay, so I've got some white twine here. I'm just going to turn that over and just line up my twine. There's nothing fancy about this. If you've got too much tape, cut it off before you push down. Don't need a whole lot. And now we're just gonna have another piece of tape on the back of there. See, I've got way more than I need. We could put a little lemon wedge in there, but I'm not going to. So now we can put another little piece of tape on the back here. Just make sure you know where you want that tea bag to be hanging before you put this on there too tight. That tape did not need to be that big. Okay, and if you want it to stay put, you can just put a glue dot where you need it, which I want to do. I don't want anyone seeing this little bit of yellow tape that I have. Okay, there we go. And now we can just pop that up on top. So I'm just going to use a couple of dimensionals. I'm not going to pop the handle up. If you're worried about it dipping, you could certainly cut some mini dimensionals for the handle. But chances are, once you give this to the recipient, it's not going to be moving a lot. I mean, mine just stays on my desk and I take a tea bag from it. And if you don't put ribbon on, it is super easy to refill. You're just going to pull that lid. If you do put ribbon on like this, try and leave the recipient enough ribbon to be able to retie it. I actually cut this really short and had trouble tying it myself. So make sure that you leave enough ribbon, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this. It didn't go as smooth as I would have liked, but c'est la vie, right? But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will consider making one for yourself. One seems a little bit taller than the other, but I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.